many imperfections in any portion of the Paul Skenes story, but there's one thing that I feel has a chance, a small chance to go at least a little bit wrong. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. The Red Sox beat the Pirates yesterday in spring ball 12-4 at Lecom Park. You know what I think about spring ball. In any direction of any outcome other than the occasional individual highlight or low light that's worth bringing up. In this case, Ji-hwan Bae went 3 for 3 with a 400-foot bomb to straightaway center. Good for him. I mean, he's 25 years old. He and I had a talk a couple weeks ago down in Bradenton about how this is such a pivotal year for him. And it is, and to his credit, he's got his chin up and everything, but he's coming off a really, really rough 2024, and he'll have to show a lot. Earlier this week, and entirely unrelated to everything I just said, Skenes was on Sirius XM's MLB Network Radio, an interview directly with that channel. He's going to do more of those types of interviews than everyone else on the team combined, because he is who he is, and respectfully here, they are who they are. And as such, he's going to have quotes that get put out in multiple different directions. It's not going to be like the standard Pittsburgh player, to say the least, or even the more prominent Pittsburgh player like a Brian Reynolds or an Andrew McCutchen or a Mitch Keller. It's going to be really, really, really different than what we're used to, even more so than in his rookie season, because he's going to be around for the whole thing. He's going to make his 30 to 32 starts. He's going to be very visible and very noticeable. And within that, I have a feeling, and call it a hunch or call it something that I've based on some reactions that I've already seen to date, that the Pittsburgh public, right here in our city, is going to end up being at least somewhat unfair to him. Here's what I mean by that. Part of what he said in this interview with MLB Network was about the state of the team. And there's going to be a lot of people that poke him about that. There's going to be a lot of people that try to get him to say, yeah, I'm great, but the team really stinks. What he actually brought up in this interview, when the subject of the 2025 Pirates came up, was this, and I'm going to quote directly. I think the thing that fires me up most this year is that we have a lot of buy-in. 30 clubs are probably showing up with hope to spring training. Hope doesn't win ball games, but it's exciting now to see the kind of differences in the locker room from last year. I think we have a really good opportunity. End quote. Nothing at all remotely amiss or eyebrow-raising about that quote, but here's where I read it to you. Were you listening a little extra carefully? Were you hoping that there was? Did I maybe have that thought cross my mind as I heard it myself? Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. It's going to be, for Skenes, almost a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. What the fans of this franchise want to hear right now is terrible things about Bob Nutting, things that will force him to sell, or that at least push him closer to selling. And they know, the fans, you, just as I know, that that's not routinely done. There isn't really anybody empowered to do that, if you think about it. Rob Manfred couldn't do it if he wanted to. Look at the hassle that the NFL had to go through to get rid of Dan Snyder in Washington. It is not easily done. So who can do it? Who can do it? Politicians, we've been over this all winter, right? Skenes can. Skenes can. Skenes might be the one person on the planet. And believe me, I'm not suggesting that he does, not even within the solar system of suggesting that. But he can. He can ruin nutting. He can say stuff that, wow, if only we had a different owner, we could really build around, da-da-da-da-da-da. He would either get nutting to get out of the business or get nutting to do something even more unthinkable, which is to spend more. And I feel, this is just my view, that that's going to be an unfair burden to place on this kid who, under any other circumstance, we would be protecting, we would be shielding from that sort of thing. Skenes, from the moment he took to the mound at PNC Park, felt exactly how he pitched, larger than life. Who looks at him and thinks, oh yeah, there's a child out there? Who looks at him and thinks there's somebody who needs to grow into the job or even grow into some sort of leadership role? No, just look at him. Look at him. He looks as if he fell out of the womb pitching that way and carrying himself that way. So why can't he be the guy that takes the Pittsburgh Baseball Club to the next level, meaning, of course, away from nutting? All I have to say here, and it's not very inventive, but it's something that I think about, and it's something that crossed my mind while I was in Bradenton after a brief discussion that I had with him. It was just about the state of the team and so forth. I wasn't poking any of that stuff. Just, how things are shaping up and so forth. Just let him pitch. 2025 is going to be the first full season he'll spend in a big league uniform, a big league rotation, with, whether they're fair or not, outsized expectations, not just for how his overall performance will go, but how he'll pitch at every single stop on the tour, whether that's in Pittsburgh or even on the road. Let him pitch. Let him just, be a kid and pitch. We can talk about all that other stuff some other year. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Time now for J1Q. That comes from Dana, who asks, I remember G1 Bay lighting up the base paths once upon a time, and then the Pirates got figured out, and he was thrown out almost every time after that. It was like he disappeared as a baseball player. In light of Bay having had his monster spring day that I'd already brought up in the opening segment, he's exasperating, like, in a lot of ways, because he looks like the kind of player who, if we base it on our longer term memories, could fit into this hole or that hole and could get on to first and then steal second or take that extra bag on a single to a certain part of the field. And nothing happened. Nothing happened. You're right, Dana. And for anybody who doesn't know what Dana's referencing there, the Pirates invested an entire spring in running wild. It was a blast to watch, especially since it didn't mean anything. It was just grapefruit ball. But they had everybody freaking out. And in some cases for the better, meaning like the people who were paying attention to it were like, this is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, it just looks like, and this was the year that they had the new bigger bags in, limited pickoff throws, and it was just supposed to be a return to the golden age of steals, or at least something approaching that. It never happened. It never happened. You want to know something? Didn't really happen anywhere. But that doesn't mean that I had to like the way it materialized with the Pirates specifically. As I've said many times and reported back when it happened, the Rockies saw something, the series in Denver, that just blew up whatever it was that the Pirates were trying to do. Our old friend Elias Diaz was behind the plate. I don't think that's why, meaning that he was a former Pirate, but he was just able to throw out everybody. No matter what kind of jump they got, no matter what the count was, if the pitch was in the dirt, it was just Diaz was like Johnny bleeping bench, right? Just everybody's just getting gunned down. And there's no other way to interpret that than to go along with what I was told, which is that the Rockies just figured out something. That's baseball. They see somebody stepping a certain way. They see signals. Everybody steals signals. And that was it. No matter how many guys the Pirates would get on, Derek Shelton would green light them, and there they go, and boom, they were out. And I'm convinced, although Shelton would never acknowledge such a thing, that he turtled after that. He, Shelton, turtled, not Bay. And he pretty much turtled across the board. Pirates are an incredibly, and were in 2024, again, an incredibly efficient base-stealing team. They were thrown out 19 times all year. But they also need to be really, really good at something else because they don't hit home runs. And they aren't good at anything else to any significant extreme. So whereas if I were running a team, boy, would I be bad at this. Just to throw that in parenthetically, there's all kinds of awful personality and emotion-based flaws that I would bring to the role. I'd fire myself after about a day and a half. But if I had that day and a half, I would just challenge everybody in the room. What do you got? Give me something that's different. Give me something that's a novel approach, or a swing back into time approach. And that's where Bay would come in. Now, Bay hit 184 last year when he was in the majors. I'm not sitting here advocating for Bay to make the roster. He's got as much of a chance, I think, as I do. And on top of that, he's 25. And as he acknowledged to me back in the early part of spring training when we had a good talk over at Pirate City, he gets it. He's not going to be seen as a prospect for a whole lot longer if he's seen that way by anybody anymore. But he's got a specific skill set. He's got one way to play. And I honestly feel like he was never given the full opportunity to show what all that could be, including just cutting him loose or adjusting, from a coaching standpoint, or from, changing your signs up, or doing a deep dive study on what really happened in that series in Denver that froze an entire franchise on the base paths. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody checking out Daily Shot of Pirates. A reminder that I'll be heading back to spring training later this month, and I'll be down there, of course, for the 144th season opener of the Pittsburgh Baseball Club. That's March 27 in Miami, and I think it is 144. I always say that just from memory, but if I'm wrong, call me out on it, all right? Let's do this again tomorrow.